A happy runner. Doesn't she look happy? She was happy. Mental toughness is what you do when you start to feel uncomfortable. It's definitely a trainable skill. So Dr. Justin Ross is a great friend. He lives in Denver. He is most likely coming to the run retreat this summer, and he's awesome. Like having someone on your side to talk through mental toughness is great. So we all go through challenging times. We all go through points in our training where mental toughness is maybe at a low. The best news is that it's trainable, which is amazing. So we're going to talk through some tips on how to train it, to tame it, as they say, and also how you can run happy. So the happy runner training has highs and lows, peaks and valleys. Mental strength does too. So training is never linear. All my athletes know this. You can have great days. You can have really terrible days. A lot of it can depend on sleep, stress, burnout. If you're running in that gray zone, like Elizabeth talked about, like I talked about earlier today, maybe you're overtraining. It's definitely all there, right? So if you have the willingness and the optimism to have stronger mental strength, you can get through it. First and foremost, I want you to identify your life values. What's important to you? There's places online that you can take, like exercises that you can take to define these. Maybe you already know them. Write them down. Write what's important to you. My top two values in life are connection and health and wellness. Shocker. Run coaching is life. No, I mean, I get to connect with so many people every single day. And I get to live my passion of health and movement and creating stronger, healthier athletes. So I get to live my value every day. And I think that alone makes anyone feel really good, because you get to live your passion and live like your values. So first and foremost, write down what your values are, what's important to you. You can go online and also take an exam or an evaluation on this. Maybe health falls into your values. Like you can also dig deeper into that. Like, what is your why around running? Or what is your why around those values? If your values align with like family and connection, how can you weave health into it? So it's something that you get to journal about. It's something that you get to think about, and definitely, reach out if you want to talk about this in more depth. Your why is what you'll always go back to when training is tough. So identifying that why around running in particular. So one, you have your values. Two, you figure out where health falls in that category. If health is at the very bottom of your values and like what you like to do, I don't really know if running's for you. It needs to be up there, because when things get tough, you have to go back to your why. And if your why isn't strong enough, it's really, really hard to pull through the training cycle. Or whatever you're going through. So determining your why and then going back to that. So if you're having trouble getting out the door, if you're missing your runs, if you're missing your strides, if you're missing the resistance band work, if you're missing the details in your training, go back to that why and why you're training and align yourself into that. Because it's really easy to throw the towel in. I was about ready to do it yesterday. So some advice: stay in the mile and the rep that you're in. So if the training gets tough in the run, some mental strategies are to focus in on that rep, that step, that mile, whatever that looks like for you. If it's a short top end speed track workout, focus in on that rep, focus in on that 100, 200 meters at a time. If you're doing an 18-mile long run in the snow, i.e. me yesterday, stay in the mile you're in. And find ways to push through, because the race and what you're training for will have times during that race that you're going to need to fall back on tough times in training to make it through. Also connecting back to your why, like we just talked about, visualizing the finish line, the last 5K, 10K of the race. I've been doing that a lot for a half marathon that I'm running next week, because at the end of the day, whether you're running halves or fulls, like, it's going to be tough. I think honestly, like, the half marathon for me is going to be actually tougher next weekend than the full in 5 weeks. And visualizing that last bit of the race when it is hard, and just sitting in it and knowing that it's okay, knowing it's supposed to hurt, pushing through it, knowing you're a strong runner, you're a fast runner, you're a capable runner, and pushing through. Mood follows action. Do the work and you're improving through the work. If you show up and you're consistent, whether you want to be there or not, your mood's going to follow your action, and you're going to be uplifted. You're going to have a stronger mental toughness when you push through the hard things. When you have a better awareness of how you feel or how you're reacting at different points in your training, you can drill down and really focus in on improving those weaker moments. Why is your mind telling you to turn it off, or to shut it down, or to stop to walk, or, the negative self-talk that we have? When that happens in training, use it as an opportunity to train the mental side with positive self-talk. And then your race day tends to be a little bit easier. So positive self-talk. It's huge. Talk to yourself like you're talking to your best friend and not you. Having mantras. If you followed me during my Boston training, I was posting a lot about mantras. I have them on Post-it notes throughout my apartment. At one point, they were literally all over my house, and I am a very clean person, and it was a little stressful to see that many sticky notes everywhere. Yet it was something that I needed to drill into my head. A few things were, you can do hard things. You deserve this. I think maybe people can resonate with that. Sometimes we feel like we don't deserve a fast race. Just do it. Stay in the mile that you're in. These are all really great mantras. Find the mantra that resonates with you and put it everywhere. Put it on I actually had it as not just sticky notes. It was actually the wallpaper on my phone for the last 8 weeks of training. One that was personal to me, and I got to see it every time I looked at my phone. So just doing things like that to make sure that it's inside your mind at all times. You want to draw on past experiences as well. I tattooed on my ribs, says Rebecca. That's awesome. There you go. Then you see it every single day in the shower and when you're getting dressed. You do you. I like sticky notes. Usually they are, the brighter, the better. Get a tattoo, have a journal, meditate on it. Do you. You want to draw on past experiences too, past experiences that have worked, that haven't worked, and why. Discovering the why on those past experiences, using what didn't work as a way to learn and grow and move forward, set yourself up with the tools for success. If you don't practice it, it's not going to translate on race day. If you practice stopping, if you practice choosing to not do your strides, if you practice negative self-talk, if you practice having a negative mindset, guess what? That's showing up on race day, and that's a really dark place to be in. If you practice pushing through the uncomfortable, if you practice your mantras and you practice all the small things in training and go back to your why, it's going to show up on race day. And it's a pretty fun experience when that happens. You also get to picture it. Picture crossing the finish line, feeling happy and feeling strong and feeling capable. Picture it in the last few minutes of your run when it hurts. Picture it when you don't want to be out there doing it. And then what I love the meditation side of things. If you're an athlete who trains with me, you get the meditation as part of your training plan weekly. And I do that because it's also something that if you practice it during your training, you get to do that on race morning, right? Do a little meditation before you head out for your shakeout run and just get your mind in the right space. And if you can find that meditative flow state while racing, it's one of the most beautiful experiences runners can feel. Not every runner feels it. So meditating can help you get into that flow state during racing. And I also like to call the 3G plus, which is the gratitude, and just writing down 3 things a day that you're grateful for during training on race day. It can be anything that deals with your life, your work, your family, training. It doesn't have to revolve around running, but just what you're grateful for. One of the best books that I love to recommend is Let Your Mind Run by Dina Castor. I read this during my first marathon training cycle, and it helped me so much. I actually know that I had a stronger mental mindset when I ran my first marathon at CIM than when I was in the Boston Marathon this past fall. Someone asked me just last week, what mantras did you go to during the Boston Marathon? And where did you go? Because it was a tough race. And I said, I actually had a really hard time getting into it. I had a really hard time getting into my mantras, to getting into the positive attitude, because it hurt, and it hurt for about 16 miles. And it was way too early in that race for it to start to feel uncomfortable. And even though I practiced it in training, I didn't practice it enough, and I didn't start soon enough. I really started getting into it the last 8 weeks of training, and it was something that I didn't do throughout the pandemic. So I encourage each and every one of you to practice it daily. Start today. I'm a big believer in starting now. Start anything now. Start today. If you go out for a run, or tomorrow when you go out for your run, get this book, Let Your Mind Run by Dina Castor. It's amazing. And it's really entertaining. And she's a great storyteller. And she has an amazing story in there about the New York City Marathon, which I'll let you read. I think every runner can relate to it. And the mental toughness surrounding the bodily functions and how she had needed to run through it and get through it successfully. And she won that race. And let's see, we also get to establish goals. So establishing goals in your training with what works, what doesn't work, what's going to make you happy, what's going to fill your cup. I'm the type of runner that I thrive off of PRs. I do not want to be in a race that I'm not racing, and I want a PR. And it's really unacceptable to me to be in a training cycle or to show up to a race underprepared in a way that doesn't lift me high to at least have the potential to PR. PR doesn't happen every time, but I want the potential to be there. Maybe your goal is to finish a marathon. Maybe it's to get through a training cycle healthy. You do you, whatever feels good for you. We all have different goals. Establish your goals, align with them, and then do what makes you happy. Create a list of the things that make you happy. Run in your favorite run routes. Run with your favorite people. Run to your favorite music. Run to your favorite running clothes. I love, after a really hard summer workout, to treat myself to an iced coffee somewhere and use that as a reward to get through the workout. Or maybe it's watching a show or listening to a book while running on the treadmill or riding the bike. Surround yourself with people who lift you high, find, great running friends, in the community, on social media, who vibe with you, who make you feel happy, and who give you the same energy that you give them. I think that's super, super important. As someone who has good energy, I find that, I can't say yes to everyone because some people don't have the same energy, and it's a downer. And I think we can all relate to that. And it's not to say that they don't have a place in life for relationships or for that relationship, but just making sure that you are spending most of your time with the people who give back to you. You can run with a friend or a family member, and use the time to catch up with people too that you love the most. This is something I do a lot. I run with a lot of people, and it's a great time to catch up with them because I'm busy. And sometimes the only time I can see them and catch up with them is through a run. So that's great. You can also run solo, run to a playlist, favorite podcast, invest in the right gear and clothing. That's going to make a big, big impact. And I think one of the coolest things is when you track your progress through an app or through using a coach and seeing, the difference in the same workout from 3, 6, 9, 12 months later. I think that's super cool. You can also plan your weekly runs ahead of time. Make sure that it's kind of like an appointment so you get it in. Have a check-in with a workout buddy. You can join a local run group. Sign up for a race. That holds everyone accountable. You can stay motivated and on track. Run new running routes to make things fun and motivating and interesting. Hiring a happy run coach. Shameless plug. Happiness is letting go of what your run is supposed to be like and celebrating that you ran today. I think that's so big because a lot of times we get super into the details. And although I think that's important, because if you have a goal to finish a marathon, there are certain things that have to be there in that training. And you also get to give yourself grace and let go, trust the process. And if a run didn't go well, just celebrate the fact that you got out the door that day and you got it done. And that's it. That's my presentation.